Welcome to our video tutorial where we illustrate an ActiveX spinner or spin button and macros associated with its spin up and spin down events. We demonstrate how using a spinner you can move the active cell content one up or down in a worksheet column. You're viewing a spinner here which is located in sheet 1. We have data in this column D. Let's see how this works. Let's try to move Pete one cell up, one row up. Clicking the scroll arrow pointing upwards, Pete has now become the second last item. To move it back to the last row, let's click the scroll arrow pointing downwards. So here it has come down. Now let's try to move Tracy to the first item. So this is how it works. Here you're viewing the spin button. Both scroll bar control and spinner control enable to change, that is increment or decrement, value in a worksheet range and both have similar properties. Difference between a scroll bar and spin button control is that in a scroll bar control you have a scroll box which can be dragged to change the control's value over larger increments. While you can keep the increment low for clicks, when you click a scroll arrow, the increment or decrement is low. So this advantages a scroll bar to cover an extremely wide range. A spin button control does not have a large change property like in a scroll bar. This large change property in a scroll bar specifies the incremental change when the user clicks between a scroll arrow and the scroll box. So here again you can increment larger amounts using the large change property in a scroll bar, which is not possible in a spin button. Spin button you can increment or decrement by fixed amounts by using the scroll arrows. Now let's come to the Visual Basic editor. Here we have you are viewing the spin down event associated with the spin button 1. This is the macro associated with the spin down button event and is triggered on clicking the down scroll arrow. This macro must be located in the code module of the worksheet containing the spinner, that is sheet 1. On top of the code module there are two drop down boxes, one on the left and right. You can select a relevant control from the left drop down box. All the controls which are located in the sheet, in the respective sheet, can be viewed from the left drop down box. Here we select spin button 1. In the right drop down box you can view all the events which are supported or associated with this control, with the spinner. You have the change event, you have a spin down event, you have a spin up event. We select the spin down event here. So a spinner control generates a spin up and spin down events for which event handler sub procedures can be written, which are being displayed here. This is the spin down event and this is the macro for the spin up event. Now let's run through these macros. Now the spin down event, this macro is generated on clicking the scroll arrow down, which moves the active cell content one down in the worksheet column D. Now please note that the cell formats are not being copied here while moving cell contents. We start with an error statement. This is a code if active cell is not in column D, that is if you select a cell other than in column D, then clicking the spinner, the scroll arrows on the spinner will have no effect. So we will exit the procedure here if any other column except column D is selected. These are the dim statements here. We set the RNG variable, the range variable RNG to the active cell. The variable str1, it's a string data type. str1 stores the active cell value. Variable str2 stores the value of cell below the active cell. So now on clicking the scroll arrow down, the active cell assumes value stored in variable str2, that is the value of cell below the active cell, and the cell below the active cell assumes value stored in variable str1, that is the value of the active cell is moved one row below, and finally the cell below the active cell is selected. So this is how the active cell content is moved one row down on clicking the down scroll arrow. Similarly, we have the SpinUp event for SpinButton 1, and this is the macro which is generated on clicking the scroll arrow, the up scroll arrow, and which moves the active cell content one up in the worksheet column D. Again, we start with the error statement. We have a similar code line here. If a cell is selected in any column except column D, then we exit the procedure. And here we have another situation where we exit the procedure, that is if we select D1, which is the top cell in the column D, and we cannot go any higher than this, so we again exit the procedure if we select D1 and click on the spinner. These are the dim statements. We have again set the RNG, which is the range variable, to the active cell. The variable str1 stores the active cell value. Variable str2 stores the value of cell above the active cell. And on clicking up the scroll arrow, the active cell assumes value stored in variable str2, which was the value of cell above the active cell, and the cell above the active cell assumes value stored in variable str1, which is the value of the active cell. So this is how clicking up the scroll arrow moves the active cell content one row up in column D. And then finally the cell above the active cell is selected. Now coming back to the worksheet, we again try to demonstrate. Let's try to move the top Mary. Let's the second record one up. Mary comes at the top. Clicking again will take Mary up again. Now Mary is in the top cell, and clicking here will not have any effect. Now if we select Mary and we click down, Mary comes one row down. Here Mary comes down again. Here Mary becomes the second record, and Tracy moves right up. So this is how a spinner works on a worksheet. We hope you enjoyed watching this tutorial and you found it useful.